Have you ever wondered how a streaming service just knows what movie you're in the mood for? Or how an online store seems to read your mind? Well, it's not magic. It's all about data. But before anyone can pull off those incredible insights, they have to start with the absolute foundations, the building blocks of the data itself.
You've probably heard this phrase before, right? Well, in data analysis, it's basically the law. I mean, imagine you're trying to predict the stock market, but your data is just riddled with typos and errors. Your super smart algorithm, it would be completely worthless, and you could end up losing a whole lot of money. That is garbage in, garbage out in a nutshell. Your final result is only ever as good as your starting material. And that really gets to the heart of the matter. The answer isn't usually in the fancy charts or the complex models. Nope, it's right there at the very beginning. So, for this explainer, let's try something. You're not just watching, you are a data detective. And your first job isn't to solve the crime, but to just meticulously examine every single piece of evidence. Can you trust it? What's the real story it's trying to tell you? Okay, so any good detective starts by securing and organizing the crime scene. For us, that means getting a handle on data structures. We have to figure out if we're dealing with a neatly organized file cabinet full of clues, or, a chaotic jumble of notes, photos, and recordings just scattered all over the place. Our evidence, it really comes in two main forms. On one side, you've got structured data. Just picture a perfectly organized library, where every book is exactly where it should be. Super easy to find and reference. And then, on the other side, you've got unstructured data. This is more like a giant messy pile of newspapers, magazines, and handwritten notes. The information in there is incredibly rich, but man, you have to dig to find the good stuff.
So, take a look at this table. See how every single piece of information has its own special place, its own dedicated column? That's the real power of structured data. You can instantly sort by purchase amount to find your biggest spenders, or filter by date to see who bought something last Tuesday. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's totally ready for investigation.
Now, think about your own day. The emails you write, the photos you post online, the comments you leave, that's all unstructured data. And it is a gold mine of context and opinions, but it just doesn't show up in these neat little rows and columns. Honestly, the real detective work of turning all this raw chatter into actual clues, that's one of the biggest challenges in data today. And kind of sitting right between these two worlds is something we call semi-structured data. A really great way to think about this is like a recipe. It's got some organization, right? There's a list of ingredients, there are numbered steps, but the description within each step is just free-flowing text. It has a framework, but it's not nearly as rigid as that table we just looked at. All right, detective, we've organized our evidence by its structure. Now it's time to zoom in. We've got to decode each individual clue. What is this piece of information really? Is it a number, a label, a ranking of some kind? This is the crucial work of understanding data types. So first up is numerical data. This is all about the numbers. It's the price of your tea, the temperature outside, or how old you are. Basically, anything you can count or measure falls into this category. This is the hard data, the how much and how many of our investigation.
But here's the thing. Even numbers have different personalities. Over on the left, we have discrete data. These are solid whole numbers. Think about it. You can have 3 people in a room, but you can't have 3.5 people. Then on the right, you've got continuous data, which can be any value in a range. A person can be 1.75 meters tall. That's the key difference right there.
And this distinction is so critical because it tells you which tools you can use to analyze it. The number of customers here is discrete, perfect for something like a bar chart, but revenue is continuous, which you might want to look at with a line graph to see how it changes over time. Using the wrong tool for the job can send your investigation down a completely wrong path.
Okay, so our other main type of clue, it isn't a number at all, it's a label. This is what we call categorical data. It's the city you live in, the brand of your phone, or your favorite type of movie. It doesn't measure quantity, it describes a quality or puts things into groups.
And just like our numbers, there are 2 key types here. Think of nominal data as a box of crowns. You've got different colors, red, blue, green, but there's no natural order to them. Red isn't better or greater than blue. But then you have ordinal data, which is more like a set of t-shirt sizes. There's a clear, meaningful order, small, medium, large. So when we look at our examples, the city Mumbai is nominal, but customer satisfaction is definitely ordinal. And that order, from poor to good to excellent, is hugely important. Why? Because it lets you see if satisfaction is generally high or low. You can't really do that with nominal data like cities. That order is what gives the data its analytical power. This summary table here, this is basically your detective's field guide. It puts everything we just talked about together. Notice that for ordinal data, you can count it and you can order it, but you can't really measure the distance between the categories. You know excellent is better than good, but is it twice as good? The data doesn't tell us that. Understanding these rules stops you from making bad assumptions.
So, our detective has organized the evidence, we've decoded the clues, but we've reached what is probably the most critical moment in any investigation. We have to interrogate our evidence. Can we actually trust it? Or is it lying to us? This, my friends, is the world of data quality.
Professionals check their evidence against these 5 dimensions, and put simply, it's just asking, is the data telling the truth? That's accuracy. Are any pieces of the story missing? That's completeness. Does the story contradict itself somewhere? That's consistency. Is this news old? That's timeliness. And finally, is it even in the right format? That's validity.
These are the kinds of red flags that can absolutely kill a case. An age of 150 isn't just a funny typo, it's an error that could throw off your entire analysis of who your customers are. Seeing both Bangalore and Bengaluru for the same city, that creates duplicates and splits your data in half. These aren't minor hiccups, they can totally invalidate your findings and lead to some really terrible decisions.
So we've organized the crime scene, we've decoded the clues, and we've verified if we can trust them. Now let's see how all this foundational detective work lets us finally crack the case and find those game-changing insights.
See, without this foundation, you're just guessing, but with it, you can move with purpose. For example, because you know your sales data is continuous, you use a line graph to spot a rising trend. Because you know your feedback data is ordinal, you use a bar chart and see that the poor rating is the most common, which signals a big problem. This is how you methodically connect the dots.
And finally, where do detectives even find their evidence? Well, it comes in different evidence bags, or what we call file formats. CSVs are like the simple plastic bags of the data world. They're universal and super lightweight. Excel files are more like a sturdy briefcase with different compartments for formulas and formatting. And JSON is like a high-tech evidence container from a spy movie, perfect for handling complex data from the web.
So there you have it. You now have the fundamental toolkit of a data detective. You'll no longer just see a spreadsheet. You'll see evidence to be classified, clues that need decoding, and a story just waiting to be told. The only question left is, what mystery are you going to solve? The possibilities are pretty much endless.